In this lesson, we're going to see the difference between simple future tenses and future perfect tenses. And I have some examples here. There are some sentences. And let's go to the first sentence. I'll watch this movie when my father comes home. So this is simple future tense. It's easy. We make the sentence with the helping verb will and base verb. So I'll watch this movie when my father comes home. And the next one is I will be watching this movie when my father comes home. Okay, this is simple future continuing tense, simple future progressive tense, and the other name. So what's the difference between those two sentences? So here, I will watch the movie after my father comes home. Okay, after my father comes home. But here I will be watching this movie when my father comes home. So when my father comes home, he's gonna see that I am watching the movie. Okay, that's why we say I will be watching. So I will watch the movie before my father comes home, and when he comes home, I will be watching the movie. So he's gonna see me watching the movie when he comes home. But this one, I will watch the movie after he comes home. Okay. And the next one is I will have watched this movie by the time my father comes home. So this is the future perfect tense. So what we mean here is when my father comes home, I have already watched the movie. So I watched the movie, and when my father comes home, he's not gonna see me that I'm watching the movie. So this is the future tense. I will have watched this movie by the time my father comes home. And the next one is I will have been watching this movie for 2 hours by the time my father comes home. This is the future perfect continuous. So actually there is no difference between I will be watching and I will have been watching. Only difference here is I say for 2 hours. Okay, so with the future perfect continuous, I mention about how long I am doing something. So I use for 2 hours. So this one I will be watching this movie when my father comes home, and this one I will have been watching this movie for 2 hours. Because I say 2 hours, I am using future perfect continuous. So those three are important, and the first one, before my father comes home, I'm not gonna watch the movie, so I'm gonna wait for him to come. And this one, when he comes, my father comes, he's gonna see me that I am watching the movie. Okay, and this one, when he comes home, he's gonna see that I have already watched the movie. So that's the difference between those three tenses. And this one just similar to this simple future continuous, and just I added 2 hours. I mentioned about how long I'm doing something. I'm using future perfect continuous. And also I have some past perfect sentences here. I want to mention about those tenses for the understanding of future tense. So here I had watched this movie before my father came home. So here you see I will have watched. It's like a similar, but this is future, this is the past. I had watched this movie before my father came home. So when my father came home, I have already watched the movie. So I had watched this movie. This is the past perfect tense. Here I say that I watched the movie before my father came home. So also I can say I watched this movie before my father came home. So this kind of past perfect sentences I can use also past simple past for both sentence, because the time is very clear here, before or after. Otherwise I have to use the past perfect. I had to say I had to watch this movie. And here I had been watching this movie for 2 hours before my father came home. So this is like similar to this tense, just I'm using the past perfect. So, and I was watching is similar to this one. I will be watching. So here I say I was watching this movie before my father came home. And only difference between had been watching and was watching is I mentioned about here 2 hours. So I'm telling about how long I am doing something. So that's why I am using past perfect continuous. I had been watching this movie for 2 hours before my father came home. Right? Okay. So here I will be watching. Here I say I was watching. Here I will have been watching. I say I had been watching. Okay. This is just the past perfect. Those are the future perfect.